and maybe poor quality services or whatever, which are often associated with the public health system. So we do need to expand our discourse and develop it to actually grapple with the accountability of powerful private actors and public-private partnerships in the health sector. So now I think we'll go ahead with one quick reflection each from each of the 5 themes which were discussed in the morning. So there'll be time for just 1 minute, one key takeaway. And when I'm saying takeaway, I would suggest that you focus on an action point, that this is something we would like to do. Or I heard about this which I felt which is a good idea to do something in terms of building a campaign or doing a new kind of research or developing communities' capacities in some new way, whatever kind of an action point. So we'll take one quick reflection, and when I'm saying quick, it means 60 seconds and not more than that. Because many of us, I think most of us, may be a bit exhausted, and we don't want to continue this session for very long. If possible, we'll wind it up by around 5:30. Okay, so theme 1, which was around the community action for health, the broader theme, is there anybody who would like to give one take-away message, especially if it is an action point, which you gathered from today's session, not a generic reflection, but from today's section? Too many insights or no insights? Okay, if you require some time to think, I'll go to the next one. There is one? Okay.
Yeah, treat all health workers equally.
Treat all health workers equal?
Yes.
Okay, I thought that was theme 5, but anyway. So, so treat all health workers equal. We'll need to deconstruct that sentence because there's probably a lot more hidden within that. Why certain health workers are treated differently from certain other health workers, and so on. But okay, thanks. So, so the next theme, sexual and reproductive health. From today morning session, one quick take-away message. Okay, people are either mentally exhausted, or the tea and coffee was not strong enough, or they have forgotten. Oh, I hope that is not the case. Okay, so then let's come to indigenous people's health. The theme on indigenous people's health. Any quick takeaways? I know the Latin Americans are suffering from jet lag, including Ariel, but but still, yeah, please. Can somebody translate? Could you translate for him? Translate. Yeah, please start.
Bien. Luis Lazo, de Foro Salud de Perú. En relación a justamente la reunión de la mañana, me quedaban preguntas también con lo que iniciaron ustedes en la participación. ¿Cómo incluir a los pueblos originarios? ¿Cómo incluir a las poblaciones indígenas? Y tengo...
Luis Lazo from Foro Salud, Peru, and he says that our session inspired the question of how to include or how to better include originary people, like indigenous people.
Primero, una disyuntiva. ¿Se trata de incluirse en el sistema o se trata de cambiar el sistema para incluirlos?
He thinks there is
Disyuntiva.
2 options. One is to include them in the system, in the health system as it is, or to transform the system so it can include the indigenous people.
Y segundo, me vienen 3 preguntas. ¿Cómo cambiarlo, el sistema? ¿Cómo construir otro sistema? ¿Y cuál es el punto clave para obtener el poder y la toma de decisiones y gestión de ese otro nuevo sistema?
3 questions.
Yeah, I think you're running out of your 60 seconds. Yeah, okay.
How to change the system.
¿Cómo construir otro?
How to build a new system if needed. And what would be the key point to
para obtener el
seize the
poder
power
en la toma de
in
decisiones
system in order to be a stakeholder or a key stakeholder in decision making.
y la gestión misma
Okay.
y la
Okay.
propia gestión de ese otro nuevo sistema.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Gracias.
Yeah. So that was a very interesting and deep reflection, and it has a lot more. It's not only true for indigenous people, although probably it does very much apply to them, but it applies for effectively all deprived and marginalized communities. The same issue, whether they should, adjust to the system, or the system should change itself. So I'm reminded of a quote by George Bernard Shaw, who said that, he talked about men, but you can say person to make it more gender sort of neutral. So he said that in history there are two kinds of people. There are people, reasonable people, who adapt themselves to the system. And there are unreasonable people who adapt the system to themselves. All progress in history is because of unreasonable people, because they are the ones who change the systems. So for indigenous people also, the same thing is, if they insist that the system should change, that is probably, there's a lot of validity in that, and that's true for many others. Okay, so we have covered 3 of the thematic areas. The 4th was the accountability and regulation of the private healthcare sector. We had a very rich session in the morning. So any quick takeaways from the theme on the private healthcare sector? You want to say something? Yeah.
Breaking the myth that the private sector is more responsible or delivers better. So there is a myth which has been created by the state over the years, and we've seen that it is not neither accountable nor responsible or better. So breaking that myth is one of the important things.
Okay, great. So just like the private sector grew by delegitimizing the public sector. The private sector established itself by saying, government hospitals don't function well, so that's why we need private hospitals. So now if you want the public health system to become strong again, we also need to quote unquote delegitimize the private sector. That doesn't mean painting all of them with a black brush, but definitely pointing out all the irrationalities, the unaffordable care, the malpractices, the exploitation, the detentions, and all these things which are going on in the private sector. And yeah, that came through. Okay, so now the 5th theme is about health workers, but we already had one comment which essentially dealt with health workers. So is there any other comment about either health workers or about the community action for health theme, if you have thought again and maybe come up with some insight? At the back? Yeah.
So in the legal accountability session, we actually heard about how legal methods can be used by the community to ensure health and health rights for themselves. So that was a key takeaway.
Okay. So yeah, that's a bit broader. So are we mentally exhausted, or can we continue for another 15 minutes? We can continue for another 15 minutes, then we can cover a few more insights. So now we have, at least got a small sample of these 5 thematic areas. But in the afternoon, we also had some very rich intersectoral or inter-thematic discussions. And also a few other areas were discussed, which do not fit in these 5 themes exactly. So actually there were 6 sessions running in parallel. So, okay, so now maybe we can go to that. The Citizens' Action on Public Finance and Accountability was a session which dealt probably with budgets and public financing and the need for accountability. So any quick takeaway point that you would like to share from this session? The session on public financing? Okay, so the mental resources seem to be at a low level for financing. So we'll deficit financing. So, okay, that is a quite a broad area. I was just trying to do justice to all the themes. Okay, so we have that choice, but then five reflections which are open reflections. We can do that. Yeah. So, but please on today's sessions, because the purpose is to reflect on today's sessions. So no generic comments, preferably. That prerogative is with me. Okay. Yeah. Please, you want to share something? An insight or a takeaway?
Thank you. I want to share the discussion of the health workers. One thing that came out very clear was the need to really consider the health workers not only as service providers, but also as allies in the demand for accountability, because they are closer to the patient and they suffer as well. That came out very clearly. Another point that came out clearly is there are certain health workers that are outside the system. They are in the informal side, and they are volunteering a lot. And therefore, the need for them to be overburdened, and how do we get them also to be compensated in one way? That was also, especially the community health workers that was discussing across, that became also, it's a big reflection.
Great. So that was an excellent reflection. I don't know, is there anybody here who belongs to a trade union of health workers? Okay, we should have at least a few such people. I assume they may be there, they may not be present right now, but this is a strong message that health rights groups, community groups, health activist groups need to dialogue with trade unions or associations or organizations of health workers. And there are issues of common concern. When public systems are being downsized, both health workers suffer and communities suffer. When budgets are not available, medicines are not available, funds are not available, etc., etc. So those kind of issues of common concern need to be put on stage. Okay. Any other reflections, insights at the back?
Okay. Social determination of health and accountability, citizen participation for social accountability and system strengthening for safe water and sanitation. The most and interesting tool is to be applied that we can ensure the accountability of the service provider towards the marginalized people is when we could establish a dialogue, the dialogue between the right holders and duty bearers in the state, and go for a concrete action plan, then we can ensure the rights of the marginalized people. So it's a very, very crucial point that can be promote accountability towards the marginalized people. Thank you.
Great. You're from which country?
Yeah, my name is Navin Kumar Saik from Nepal.
Okay. Yeah. So like water, accountability also has to flow. Yeah. And unless there's a dialogue which leads to flow of information and feedback from both sides, accountability cannot be developed, whether in the sector relating to water and sanitation or any other sector.
Yeah, any other sector.
Yeah. Great.
And it should be owned and led by the government.
Okay. That may be a point for discussion, whether the government should lead it. The government must be involved, I think that is definite, but whether the government will lead it or not, I'm not so sure. So less likely that the government will lead it, but yeah, they have to be part of the dialogue and part of the process very much. Okay. So any other reflections? Yeah. So we've already had two, isn't it?
Thank you. My name is Willie Sumba from Kenya. And another thing that we took as a takeaway in our session that we had this afternoon about budgets advocacy was basically even to trigger accountability from within, apart from only from without, or from, so that we have even accountability from within government itself. How do you again be able to identify people as advocates within government that will be able to be instrumental in triggering accountability within government?
Great. So external accountability can trigger internal accountability processes or reinforce it, or make higher level officials who are not really looking at what their lower level functionaries are doing, make them actually activate them to ensure accountability within the system.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's a quick one for the theme 5 on research. I liked what Jonathan Fox said when he said that we do a lot of qualitative data and we call it anecdotal. And I think we should not use the word. And I found that when he said the word testimony, it gave a sense of, like, yes, I mean, we should not downplay it. And I think we should call them testimonies. They're real evidences and they're coming from the heart. So that's one.
Very good. So Jonathan, you have a lot of fans in this room. And the use of language, as you keep pointing out, is also critical. So when you say it's a story, it's not taken seriously. When you say it's a testimony, then it becomes something more weighty. So okay, let's call it testimonies. And of course, they are important. They're very important. Any other reflections? Right at the back. Kausalya.
I was attended many of the HIV conference. This is for me. I attended the previous the People's Health Assembly on indoor, but this is for me. It's very different from the HIV. Many of the international conference. So here it's actually for each participant. They have accountability on how contribute and how take it back to their places. So that was actually very good way. And there it is never actually take it back from the home. We can take it, if we want to take it back from the home, there is no compulsory it is take it back from home, because it is automatically giving in the space for platform. In automatically the responsibility comes. So everybody taking something in their own area. So we have to also take it from our own areas, how we can actually use it for it. So I was taken in the 5 things. Let's see how I can able to use it in my work.
Great. So that was a very, very, very valid and important reflection, and it's a reminder to all of us. We are privileged to be sitting in this room for 4 days, and probably 90% of the people in our countries do not have this privilege. And even among the various kinds of practitioners, many of you have come from countries where many people could not come here. We are here, so we have both enjoyed a certain privilege, but we also have a responsibility to take back whatever we have learned, whatever we have shared, whatever strategies we have developed, to take them back to the many, many, many more people with whom we work with, and to put it into action. That is, I think, part of the entire process, and I think Kausalya has reminded us of all of that. So if there are no further major reflections, would any of you like to add any final points?
I think one new point was about a lot of times in the monitoring or the accountability exercise, the effort is towards looking at the quality of services. Today I learned in the session on indigenous practices, the experience of care, because there is a lot of burden, there is labor even in providing emotional support. And therefore there has to be also an effort in looking at the health workers' intervention and the amount of labor that goes into emotional support in providing that service. And therefore some kind of indicators could be thought about in measuring, understanding the cost of emotional labor.
Okay, so that was a heavy one. The cost of emotional labor. Yeah, it's a very interesting reflection. Yeah, and this is particularly true for the health sector. So maybe in a factory you can quantify how many whatever products were produced by a worker, but when it comes to healthcare, just spending time is not enough. Just a doctor sitting in the clinic for X number of hours is not enough. How the doctor or the nurse or the health worker relates with the patient, makes an effort to understand what the patient is saying, makes an effort to reach out, counsel, explain, and treat in a way that is appropriate, requires effort. It's not automatic. And as you said, it's not just a physical effort. There is an emotional component involved, and that makes all the difference between good health care and bad health care. And we see it all the time. that, you know, quality of healthcare is a huge issue and very difficult to quantify. But like it's been said for quality that it's difficult to define it, but you know it when you see it. So this is from Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. So, so you know it, that, you know, this is a good health encounter. You come out of the doctor's office feeling good, or you've come out feeling absolutely miserable. So a lot has to do with that. So it's not only, you don't only treat with the head, you also treat with the heart. And if both are involved, that is the best healthcare. Okay, so I think now with if there are any other final reflections, otherwise we'll conclude for the day. It's been a long day, and all of us have put in a lot of both head and heart, and hopefully now we can call it a day. So I'd just like to remind you that tomorrow we are going to have, in the post-lunch session, we are going to have the practitioners' assembly, which is a very important event, and then the concluding plenary. So do come prepared. Do think about it. How do we want to take COPASA forward? So some of you have mentioned that COPASA has been a energizing kind of platform. All of us are COPASA. COPASA is not out there. We are all, whatever we make of it, that is COPASA. So if we are able to come up with some suggestions, some concrete points for action in the practitioners' assembly, then all this effort which we have put in, it will be sustained. Otherwise, it will become like one more conference where we had 3 days of good discussion and then went back and, well, okay, you know what happens. So, so we want, this is a practitioners' event. It's not just a conference. So we do want you to come with some thought about how you want to see COPASA moving ahead and what you can put into it. We had a discussion in the South Asia group also, where, and I'm sure in the other regional groups also, there must have been some good discussion. Do come with some ideas, because we don't want to go away empty-handed. Empty-handed in the sense we have a big bag and we have a bottle and all that, but you know what I mean. So we don't want to go, we don't want to go without some, something which will sustain beyond the assembly. So, okay, I think we'll give a hand of applause to everybody, our panelists and everyone. Thank you, and see you all tomorrow morning.